wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. This episode is sponsored by Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. We're here today with Josh Feinberg. Josh is the president and CEO of Everlasting Capital. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Today we are going to be talking about the 4 ways to use your employees to help build company culture. But before we get into today's topic, maybe you can tell our listeners a little about what you and the team at Everlasting are up to these days.
Absolutely. I mean, Everlasting Capital started 5 years ago in a basement and off of a $3,000 loan. Started the company in the basement that was 50 degrees, had nothing besides a computer, a phone, and a jacket to keep me warm, and made 400 calls. And then to speed up to now, we are a company listed on the Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. Everlasting Capital is a national business financing firm that lends to companies that are looking to purchase equipment, looking to purchase inventory, expand their company by using marketing. So we really lend to the small to medium-sized business market that traditionally can't access bank lending. Mm-hmm. And we've created the opportunity to be able to help companies like that access funding.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, kind of in the vein of that idea of microfinancing.
Correct. I mean, our dollar amounts are anywhere between $5,000 up to $150,000.
Got it. Well, certainly congratulations on your success. I think it's a great story, especially because we're going to be talking about, company culture today, and you starting in a 50-degree basement. And, I can only imagine what that kind of culture looks like to today, where how many employees do you have today?
Today we have 13. We have 13 employees. Over the years we've been up to 20. We've been down to 5, but we've really right now we have the sweet spot of the right amount of employees along with the quality, right? Because at a lot of points, in my career over the past 5 years, we always thought that quantity was better than quality. But the big thing for us is we've noticed that quality of employees and company culture is so important, in the growth of this company. And I'm sure, growing any other type of entity would be the same way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been kind of a focus of ours on the show in 2018, growing in the right way. And so that's why we've been so fortunate to get guests such as yourself onto the show to sort of talk to us through this process. You've seen it. You've been growing your company, landed on the Inc. 5000 list. And again, we're going to be talking about the 4 ways that you've actually used your employees to help build your company culture. And so I know that the first thing that we're going to be talking about, and you've seen it, you've done it, you've just explained, is hiring people. But not only that, you're going to be hiring people that fit your culture. So what does that look like, Josh?
So, I mean, culture is a huge key in Everlasting Capital's success. And what does that look like, right? Because Everlasting Capital's culture is a lot different than, most companies, right? Because most companies try to have that corporate type feel, hit your goals or you're out. Now, we do require and we do expect a lot out of our employees. However, some of the things that, differentiate our employees and, it differentiates us and really makes our culture is kind of, the go-getter attitude, right? Because most people that come to us, look to change their lifestyle, right? Most of them came from a job where they were capped out at, a certain income, and they wanted to live a different life. What does that look like? If they wanted to spend more time with the family by going on vacations, or, they wanted to be able to go out to dinner more, they just wanted to live life a little bit more including, buying homes, cars, just changing their lifestyle and trying to get out of obscurity. So, what we need to do, and what we've done over the past 5 years, we need to make sure that we're hiring the right people that fit our culture. So, when people come in and we're interviewing them, we need to, make sure that they're going to, kind of mold in what we need them to be within the culture. So, we've had sales superstars come in here for interviews, and, we're talking with them. They sound great. We know that they would be really good on the phone. However, when we do our interviews, we do a group interview. So we have 4 of our top sales reps, also asking them questions. What we'll notice is, they're not even really listening to what we're saying. They're kind of just waiting for their turn to speak. And when they speak, they don't even acknowledge what they were saying. So, we know that, just in the interviews, who's going to mold and who's not. Because the reason being why it's so important to hiring the right people that fit the culture is if there's somebody that, has a bad attitude, that's being really negative, that kind of spreads like a wildfire. And we've noticed that over the past 5 years, that when we have somebody that comes in and is really negative, it kind of brings down that culture. Because, our culture is kind of a laid-back type atmosphere, but everybody knows what their specific duties and what their job roles are. And when somebody comes in and kind of throws that off, it kind of, it spirals around the entire office where, people just aren't, having the progress that they really want because of, specific individuals that come in. So you need to be able to make sure that you're hiring the right people that fit that culture.
Yeah. It sounds like you engage your current employees to help that process, almost like a litmus test to see if they're going to be aligned with the existing employees that you have.
100%. They know kind of who we're looking for, and including myself, I know what we're looking for. So it kind of really, if they gel and they kind of, they're getting along in the interview, we have a pretty good idea who's going to be able to make it and who's not, just based off of trial and error over the years.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, and keeping that in mind, not just having, like you said, not just having the right skill set, but also gauging whether or not they are going to be a good fit. So you can kind of gauge, during this interview process, if you're being intentional about it. The second thing I know that we were going to be talking about is having the employees know the value and the mission of the company. So what does that look like? Is that you educating them at the beginning, during the interview process? What are we talking about here?
Employees knowing the value and the mission of the company, right? So, that kind of goes back to the story of how Everlasting Capital started, right? So they know the value of this company because we started from absolutely nothing. Me being young, I was 19 years old when I started the company. And that really kind of derived like the value and the mission of Everlasting Capital. So, as far as like value, right? Our main value is to be able to build the wealth and help people change their lifestyles by being able to increase income. As far as the mission of the company is to scale and grow, obviously helping small to medium-sized business owners access funding. But the mission of the company is to really scale and get to a very large organization by being able to grow people's income. But not only that, is build individual teams. For example, when someone becomes a senior finance manager here, which is like kind of like that top level, that's when we start to put people underneath them. So, as far as the value and the mission, right? So when they get to this top level where they're starting to see life-changing income, but then they have the ability of being able to put somebody underneath them and really watch them change their lifestyles, whether they didn't have a home and they lived in an apartment and now they're buying houses, or they didn't even have a car, but now they're buying cars, being able to, see the value of really being able to help others grow their income by being able to offer, an opportunity to be able to just live a different lifestyle. So the value and mission of the company, is obviously help that small to medium-sized business owner, but it's really to just build our employees up to get to the next level in life.
Interesting. That's, to make sure that your employees know sort of their financial well-being is almost, it almost feels like that's kind of baked into the value and mission of your company.
And that's exactly it. And I've tried to do that over the past 5 years of really showing the value, the mission, but also the appreciation, right? Because at the end of each year, we take all the employees on an end of the year trip, whether it's to Puerto Rico or Las Vegas or somewhere, right? And it's funny, and we have like season tickets to the Patriots, and we do all these things. And it's funny when you really show, the appreciation to your employees, and you start to do these little things, and they start to say, well, I've never done this before in my life, and I'm making more money than I ever have, and I'm having first life experiences, almost every single month. It really, really starts to show a fire and create a team and culture, and it's just unbelievable how it formulates.
All right, it's story time again, and today I'm going to tell you about a challenge within Pelican Case's B2B division. Pelican needed a partner with deep B2B expertise that could get them a massive bump in leads from their pay-per-click campaigns without increasing spend. After vetting a handful of agencies, they decided to go with Directive Consulting, a B2B search marketing agency located in Southern California. Directive took on this challenge by refining their targeting and building custom landing pages for their advertising efforts. Once implemented, they saw a 208% increase in conversion rate. And needless to say, Pelican Cases met their initiative. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
Josh, let's talk about this third point, knowing that good decisions not only come from the executives, but they can also come from the employees as well. How do you capitalize on something like that?
Again, that kind of relates back to culture, right? Being able to have a wide open company, being able to talk about every single decision with your employees, right? Because for us, 98% of the decisions that we make, our employees are involved in, whether it's on a new lead source or whether it's on, how are we going to be able to work with this client to make terms meet, but being able to say, hey, listen, if you have an idea on how we could really increase market share in a specific industry, or, you have an idea on how we can access more leads, feel free to be able to present that to us. And, we'll be wide open to the idea and be able to formulate a plan to be able to do it. So a lot of times I'll say, listen, create a business plan. Tell me exactly how you would want us to do it. What's it going to cost us? And let's see if we can make it work. The same exact way as I started this company, I let them run with their ideas as well.
Incredible. And Josh, this fourth and final point, I love this idea is that, you realize that you're a team, not just a bunch of individuals. How are you using your employees to build your company culture with that thought? And how does it work at Everlasting Capital?
It's a wide open floor. I don't have my separate own office. My CFO doesn't have a separate own office, and we wouldn't want it. Because the thing is every single time we hit goals, we're in the office, we're cheering, we're clapping. Just like last month, we hit our goals like 4 times over. So we hit it, and then we hit the stretch goal, then we hit another stretch goal, then we hit another stretch goal. Everybody's clapping. But the thing is we know that we wouldn't be able to build this company if it was just for us hiring a bunch of people, throwing them on the floor and having our own offices. So we realized that every single one of our employees is just important as we are, because without them, we wouldn't be able to get to the point that we're at and where we want to go. So, a lot of times, because I've been an employee before, right? And I felt like I was just an individual trying to hit my own goals. Now, here, everybody has their own job duty, their own expectations of them, and, their own goals. But the thing is if, every single one of those goals that we set together, it kind of molds all together because they have certain responsibilities, and so does all of us. So if one of us doesn't hit our responsibilities, us as a team fail. It's not just that one single person did. So we really need to make sure that we're building each other up as a team, rather than just saying, you're an employee, you need to make this many calls, and if you don't, you're out the door.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Are there ways that you think people can, we've got a wide variety of listeners of the show. Are there any ways, any tips, any tricks, any strategies you think can be applied kind of across the board, or things that you can even get people thinking about in how to realize this fact and sort of push out this idea that, hey, we're all a team. We're not just a bunch of individuals. Obviously, your particular layout, one of the things that you do is, you don't have a separate office. You sort of celebrate landmark goals together. Are there any other strategies you can provide our listeners with when you're trying to reinforce this idea that, hey, we are a team and we fail and we succeed together?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is being able to, one, think outside of the box, right? Think outside of the box. Try to figure out different ways to be able to work together as a team. Figure out ways that you can kind of match people up and create like individual partnerships within the company between employees. Two, give back to your employees, right? Because there's three main things that really, really motivates people, right? One of them is money. Two of them is incentives. Three is training. And if you can accomplish all three of those goals together, you're going to be able to, that's the recipe for success, at least with building a team. Obviously, there's a lot of other topics, but we're talking about building a team here. Right. That's the number one recipe for success, by being able to build a team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That sounds fantastic. And Josh, obviously you've sort of walked us a little bit through your personal journey from basement to where you are now, which is incredible. And I think, one of the questions that we've been asking our guests this year is, what kind of a legacy are you hoping to leave behind at the end of the day? Whether that's personal, professional, or a combination of the two, what does that look like for you?
So professionally, I want to be able to leave a legacy to others to show that anyone can make it, right? I mean, I was 19 when I started the company. I went to an alternative high school and I attended one college class. Not everyone has to have a college degree to be able to be successful. So if I can show anyone that, one, with enough determination, enough hustle, and enough outside of the box thinking, you could be able to be successful. So if I could leave that to anyone just by, being able to show people the success of Everlasting Capital and the success that's, coming, that's what I would love to be able to leave behind. But as far as, family, my wife, my two beautiful children, my son and my daughter, I would just like to be able to leave them, if I had to leave my legacy to them, to be able to show them that anything's possible, that, being able to live a great life isn't, unimaginable, right? Anything that you think you can do can absolutely happen if you put your mind and you put enough effort towards it.
Yeah. It's both of those are very important messages, and you're kind of, you're a walking example of being motivated. It's like you said yourself, it's not necessarily a traditional path to what people consider success, at least these days, since that, it sounds crazy, but you're a perfect example of that. It can happen. You work hard, you're motivated, you treat people right, you have the right incentives. You've said yourself, one of the things that you've literally baked into your company culture is the financial well-being of your employees. So that sort of speaks to the character of someone who is outwardly thinking about the success and well-being of others. So Josh, I think that's a great legacy to leave behind. We really appreciate you sort of sharing your wisdom with us on the show today. If any of our listeners are interested in connecting with you, they're interested in connecting with Everlasting Capital, they want to find out more about today's topic, whatever it is, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
You can contact me or anyone at my company. You can go to www.everlastingcapital.com. You can call in directly to our phone number that is on the website, and you can, ask for me, and I'll be available. If I'm not, leave a message, and I'll be able to get back to you.
That's fantastic. Again, we've been talking with Josh Feinberg, President and CEO of Everlasting Capital. Josh, thank you again so much for your time today. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much, John. I appreciate it.
There are lots of ways to build a community, and we've chosen to build the B2B growth community through this podcast. But because of the way podcasts work, it's really hard to engage with our listeners. And without engagement, it's tough to build a great community. So here's what we've decided to do. We're organizing small dinners across the country with our listeners and guests. No sales pitches, no agenda, just great conversations with like-minded people. We'll talk business, we'll talk family, we'll talk goals and dreams. We'll build friendships. So if you'd like to be a part of a B2B growth dinner in a city near you, go to b2bgrowthdinners.com. That's b2bgrowthdinners.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.